how to use the pragmatic method to 10 times your business growth. Every single thing that you want to accomplish when it comes to business growth comes out of these three big pillars. Why does this matter? Hey, it's Crystal. Welcome. Come on in. I'm sort of trapped by my microphone, but we're going to get into today, what did I call this? How to use the pragmatic method to 10 times your business growth. I'm so glad you're here. Look, if all you want to do is skip to the download and get the resources, just click the button and you'll go directly there. But otherwise, let's dive into this. Why does this matter? Because every single thing that you want to accomplish when it comes to business growth comes out of these three big pillars. And honestly, I don't hear them being talked about almost anywhere. What's the first big pillar of 10x growth? Like, what's the big deal? And you think I'm going to say funnel, but I'm not. No, there's no funnel. The first big pillar is awareness. Now, before you scroll away and think this isn't sexy, just hold on one second. You and me can't grow our businesses if we aren't honest with ourselves. Probably the first big pillar probably needs to be called brutal honesty instead of awareness. The brutal honesty with yourself is like being willing to receive the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you're in business, I promise you, you have good, bad, and ugly. You've got stuff that's working really, really well in your business. Maybe it's your social presence. Maybe it's your connection with people. You've got stuff that's kind of bad, which is like, don't open that closet door because stuff's going to fall out. And then you've got stuff that's ugly, right? Like not only if you open the closet door, will it fall out, but it's like just not working, like either not implemented or broken down or needs to be upgraded. You've got to be willing to be brutally honest with yourself about what's really working, what's not working, and what could work if you're gonna 10x. Look, if all you really want to do is double your growth, do a little bit more of the same stuff and you're gonna have more growth over time. But I'm telling you, sometimes your life has changed to a degree, the market has changed to a degree, you want something bigger than you've ever asked for before. And so to go after that and have that, you've got to really be willing to sit back and have awareness of all the things so that you can work with what is. A lot of times we put a lot of energy into tricking ourselves about what is and not being honest with ourselves because most of the time we don't want to look at that stuff. But as long as you're willing to look at everything and receive it without judgment, you can create magic, otherwise known as 10x growth. And you know the reason we're using 10x growth? Because it's the only term I've been able to find that's like exponential. Something so much bigger than what you've chosen so far that it's actually big enough for you. It's inspiring to you. But enough of that. So I got to be willing to know all the stuff. Okay, great. That's great. Brutal honesty. But what else? Inclusion. Pillar number 2. Okay, this is called the pragmatic method. You got to be willing to be brutally honest with yourself and have awareness. You got to be willing to include everything. Now, what do I mean by this? All right, I'm going to show you. I mean, you got to be willing to include you. You got to be willing to include your body. You got to be willing to include what you want to create. And you got to be willing to include how you want to live. I cannot tell you how many entrepreneurs I sit with and have conversations with that aren't including one or more of these. Let me tell you a quick story. One of the guys that I've had some conversations with recently who's really looking to 10x in a different way. And this is important because you might be looking to 10x in a different way. He already created 2 very successful businesses. He sold them for millions of dollars, a couple of SaaS businesses. He's in his 3rd business now. And his 10x isn't that he wants to get to $10 million or, really do much of anything with his revenue except make sure that it keeps coming in. His thing is more, he wants to 10x his quality of life. And when we started talking and I started using the tools and the questions with him, the thing that came out was that he's not sleeping well. Now that sounds like a really, really, really simple thing, but guess what was the bigger thing underneath that? Remember I said how this pillar is inclusion? The thing underneath that was that he wasn't including his body. And actually he wasn't including his awareness. So we got to 2 really big things. Now, the thing about growing anything or changing anything is you have to include, number 1, that you're aware, and number 2, that you have a body. And also that you want to create something in a way that you want to create it, and you want to have a certain way that you want to live. So inclusion is a massive pillar in 10Xing because that's actually what forms the questions moving forward. I haven't done a training on this yet, but I will. And that is that questions are everything. The questions you ask yourself are the ones that allow the awareness to come forward. And most of the time, we number one, don't know the questions to ask ourselves. And number two, don't ask ourselves questions. But then if we do ask ourselves questions, tend to ask the wrong ones. And three, we just aren't educated on what do we need to have in mind, what do we need to be including in order to ask intelligent questions. So if you're not including you, and what you'd like to have as your life and what you'd like to create, if you're not including your body, then how will you know what 10X is for you? Sure, you can get the energy of it and the sense of it, but to be able to physically actualize it, you're probably going to need some more information. So a huge pillar of the method to 10X is inclusion. Are you including everything about you, including your body? But what's the third pillar, you ask? I'm glad you asked, and this is a doozy. The third pillar is outreach, okay? Now, we're talking about what it takes to 10X your business and your life. Outreach, huge pillar. Now, this one's sexy and uncomfortable. So how many of you guys have heard of Alex Hormozi? All right, I hadn't for a really long time. Apparently, he's quite a big deal. And a lot of people that are, maybe who are into traditional marketing, like, of course, Alex Hormozi, he wrote, $100 million leads and offers and all this stuff. Well, I was on his YouTube channel the other day, and he's got this rule of 100 thing that he talks about, okay? Alex Hormozi, rule of 100. You are going to love this, okay? Get ready. Rule of 100 is if you want your business to grow, you want to be spending $100 a day on ads or talking to 100 people a day. 100 people a day. I got off his video and I was like, well, I'm lazy. But I did experience a period of time in my business where the growth simply wasn't happening. And if I look back on that period of time, I definitely 100% wasn't outreach. I was doing business as usual. I had gotten comfortable. I had gotten comfort. Outreach is where you have established systems of reaching out to new people all the time so that your business can grow with ease. Most of us don't have these systems in place. Most of us are like flying by the seat of our pants with our hair on fire. Number one, we're either hoping our business will grow from a Facebook post, or we're talking to like 2 people in a month and hoping that will fill our classes or our programs, or we're running Facebook ads, but we're not necessarily optimizing them. Or, there's just so many different versions of this. Like, we may have done a few things, but not like this big, bold, we're doing outreach, we're having it 10X, what's it going to take demand of ourselves. So the second, little bullet that I put under outreach was creating yourself into a creature of discomfort. Now, this is something that I love working with people around, and maybe this is not a sexy thing to be putting into a training, but I love that there's actually a possibility available for growing in a way that we've never considered before, because maybe your business has stopped growing, but you've been doing the same kind of outreach for years on end. And so it's time to shake it up. Or your business really has been in decline, but you haven't put systems of outreach in. And so that's easy to just look at and go, okay, if we were going to 10X this thing, what would we put in place? So creating yourself into a creature of discomfort, if you were going to do that and choose that and institute that, what would you choose? And so I put together a little worksheet for you that you can get in the resource link just below this video. And it gives you some questions that you can start asking yourself right now to give yourself more awareness of where you're at. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you would like it, and share it and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you want to grab the resources that I put together for you out of this, just click the link below. There's a lot more ways that we can work together and I can help you. All change and all growth starts with self-awareness. I will see you in the next conversation.